Bonjour et bienvenue à l'épisode 213 du podcast Innovation, Agilité et Excellence. Mon nom est Jean-François Nantel et en compagnie d'Éric Lheureux, nous désirons vous offrir réflexions, conseils et perspectives afin de faire face aux perturbations du marché et pour développer la croissance profitable et durable de vos organisations. Nous utilisons des simulations et des jeux sérieux dans nos formations depuis plus de 15 ans, convaincus que cet outil d'apprentissage est extrêmement puissant. Et c'est d'ailleurs pourquoi nous cherchons à vous parler de nos découvertes à ces sujets sur ce podcast. D'ailleurs, nous utilisons de plus en plus ces outils dans nos mandats de conseil pour faciliter la compréhension des situations, des problèmes et des enjeux par de multiples parties prenantes et aller plus vite à l'essentiel. Sans pour autant redire ce qui a été dit par Marie Dupont, formatrice de facilitateur Lego Serious Play à l'épisode 132, ou plus récemment par un autre chemin, ce qui a été dit par Baptiste Sand, designer chez Lego Education à l'épisode 211, ou encore Frédéric Rousseau, directeur de projet chez Vinci Autoroute à l'épisode 172, nous sommes heureux de pouvoir nous entretenir dans cet épisode avec M. Robert Rasmussen, créateur de la méthode Lego Serious Play. Pour ceux et celles qui découvrent ces outils et cet univers, une écoute des podcasts en français peut s'avérer utile avant de vous lancer dans cet enregistrement qui s'est déroulé en anglais. Car, comme nous l'avons dit précédemment, si les grands et les meilleurs refusent rarement de parler de leur travail, ils et elles ne parlent pas pour rien dire. Et M. Rasmussen est certainement parmi les grands. Robert Rasmussen est né et vit au Danemark et est titulaire d'une maîtrise en éducation de l'École royale danoise d'éducation de Copenhague. Il a passé sa carrière à appliquer des théories et des expériences sur le jeu, sur l'apprentissage, sur la créativité et sur l'enseignement au développement organisationnel. Pendant 15 ans, il a beaucoup travaillé avec des concepteurs et des chercheurs de l'Université Tufts à Medford, Massachusetts, et du MIT Media Lab à Boston, Massachusetts, pour développer et appliquer des outils d'apprentissage pratique. Robert Rasmussen est le principal architecte de la méthode Lego Serious Play depuis 1999. Après plusieurs années et plus de 20 itérations, son équipe et lui ont développé le concept pour en faire la méthodologie reproductible et robuste qu'elle est aujourd'hui. Il est maître formateur dans la méthode Lego Serious Play et propose des programmes de formation pour les facilitateurs ainsi que des ateliers pour les utilisateurs finaux par l'intermédiaire de sa société Rasmussen Consulting en Europe, aux États-Unis, en Amérique latine et en Asie. Avec Per Christiansen, il est l'auteur du livre Building a Better Business with the Lego Serious Play Method. M. Rasmussen a travaillé pour le groupe Lego de 1988 à 2001 en tant que responsable de la R&D pour Lego Education et a notamment dirigé l'équipe de développement éducatif pour Lego Mindstorms, le produit le plus vendu de l'histoire de la société Lego. De 2001 à 2004, M. Rasmussen a dirigé Executive Discovery Limited qui a développé et lancé le programme Lego Serious Play. Bonne écoute! Hello, Mr. Rasmussen.
Hello.
My first question for you is this one. Before we go any further, you are one of the main inventors of the Lego Serious Play method. Could you define what serious games or serious play is for us, for our listeners?
Yeah, I can at least I can try. It's not a game.
Yes.
Because you know that because the main difference is that games have winners and losers.
Uh-huh.
And we don't have that in Lego Serious Play. Lego Serious Play method is simply a technique that can help a group of people think together, communicate, and problem solve. So it's a technique for people that for some reason have to gather around a table because whatever they individually are responsible for, they cannot get done without somehow communicating, somehow problem solving with other people. So it's when these groups of people have to get together because to talk about something real, it's a technique that can help them think and then help this thinking to communicate and then use this thinking and this communication to problem solve or to understand or to resolve or become better at whatever they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. This is what Lego Serious Play is. So it's simply a technique to help people think, communicate, and problem solve about real things
Yes.
in real time that is real for people. So it's not a training you attend.
No.
It's a technique that you use to get something done in a different way.
And to produce concrete results or concrete actions that can be followed up on.
Yeah, and sometimes even just understanding something much deeper than you did before you entered the room. So that when you leave the room, you have whatever the goal was. Maybe the goal was basically just to understand each other's viewpoints. Maybe the goal was to come up with new actions. Maybe the goal was to whatever it is, right?
Yes. One of the important concepts you embedded in Lego Serious Play is to provide the individual and the group with the possibility of drawing on all of their knowledge and experience, not just formal knowledge which can be expressed orally or in writing. How did you get this idea?
I am an educator by training. So obviously I knew something about learning and stuff like that.
Yes.
But it really struck me many years ago that I came across an article about a research that sort of showed this, talked about this, that we are only conscious about 5 to 10% of what we know. The rest
Yes.
we don't know, right?
Yes.
and this sense that how could you then actually unlock that? And this to me explained also this feeling that you often have that I know this is the right thing to do, but
Yes.
I just don't know why.
Yes. Yes.
So something in our system knows that we know something, but it doesn't know what it is that we know, right? And then the building and the doing somehow can help you unleash this, right? So I think it also came from my work in Lego education. This whole idea of how can you learn something from making stuff out of Lego, right? That you
Yes.
build something and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
So it was a mix of something I knew, something I felt, brain-based learning, constructivism and constructionism, and so all of this sort of put together.
Yes. So I do want to dig a little bit deeper on constructionism, constructivism. How did this influence your train of thought, or what did you dig into these approaches to create the Lego Serious Play methodology?
The beginning of this year, of course, was what we did with children.
Yes.
And what we did with Mindstorm. And during the development of Mindstorm, I got introduced to the flow theory.
Yes.
Actually, through a teacher that I had hired when I was his principal. And he then became a scientist, worked with Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. And,
Yes.
and then he, when I was at Lego, I was doing Mindstorm. He said, Robert, I need to talk to you about something. And he showed me sort of the whole flow theory.
Yes. Yes.
And that was huge for me because this thing that what drives your curiosity and the whole Mindstorm is this idea that, how could you learn from making robots? And if you have a robot and you tell children to program it so it stops at the edge of the table,
Yes.
then they will make it stop and then maybe there's 5 centimeters. Then they'll see if they can make it stop even closer and closer. And they'll keep going until it falls off the table, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So this sense of that you'll just try really came from there. And when you can create a situation where people can experience this, I could do something that I couldn't do.
Yes.
This sense that when you are skiing and you actually set out on downhill, right, and you kind of feel I'm probably going to fall on the way down.
Yes.
But then you make it down without falling. And you have this surprise, I could do this, yeah. So I think that I came across this, and this is what we did, Mindstorm. And so how can you keep this intrinsic motivation for keeping building? And then we somehow took that into the Lego Serious Play method.
Yes, and we'll get to this flow concept a little bit later on. Now that you talk about this, I remember being in a conference in Montreal with a fellow called Henrik Knieberg, who explained to us how he brought his using agile methods, essentially iterative and incremental methods, to improve their robot over time. He got his kids to make it to the finals or even win the competition, if I remember well. Anyway, that's a long time ago.
But you talk about my inspiration. My big inspiration in terms of constructivism and constructionism was really Seymour Papert.
Okay.
Because when I joined Lego, I became the liaison person to MIT Media Lab. My role was to actually spend time at the Media Lab and see how could I get ideas from there. And that's why I met and started working with Seymour Papert. And he was no compromise in terms of how should you learn. It was all about learning by making something. And this idea that in order for you to learn something new, you need to connect it to some existing knowledge.
Okay.
And this whole idea that only the learner knows what the learner knows, so only the learner can actually find out how do I construct some new knowledge, right? And he had no sort of compromise. When my task was to take some product ideas and get his feedback. And I always knew that when I took this to Seymour, because we also had to think about the teachers, Mrs. Vanilla on a wet Monday morning. So it was all this mix between some instructionism and some constructionism.
Yes.
And I knew he was just going to bang me downward to say, no, Robert, no instructionism. It must be constructionism. No instructionism. It must be constructionism.
Actually, now listening to you, I'll have to redefine the differences I made between inventors and innovators. Maybe that'll be the subject of another discussion in the future. Are using our hands the only way to tap into this reservoir of knowledge, this 80-85% that is not accessible consciously?
I don't really know. I think that's a really good question.
Yes, that's a good answer.
My short version of it is when you build in the world, it helps you build up here.
Yes.
But I think that you may also, if we have a really strong emotional reaction, right, or we are maybe just observing, maybe through mindfulness or something, I think there are other ways that can somehow release some of this stuff.
Okay, yes. Because a lot of people in organizations want to get people to draw things instead of writing them in collective intelligence. They ask them to draw things, and that's why I'm asking the question: is drawing as quote unquote as good as building? I'm sold on Lego Serious Play, but I'm asking the question from the master. So
yeah, but I think that there's a difference between drawing something and then maybe playing with sand or whatever it could be, right? I think that what you build with have to have this forgiveness so that you can actually put things together in many different ways. Whereas in drawing, I think in many ways you are too occupied with the actual form and what it looks like.
Yes.
And maybe that's because I don't feel I'm very good at drawing myself.
Same with me. But it's, and people will have this bias of I don't draw very well. Right. I don't want to do this. Right. Whereas building with Lego, I think. Yeah. I mean, I use this explanation. It says from 4 years and over. So you should be good with this. There's no stress. You'll be good with this.
No, but I think Seymour's many years ago, he before we even had personal PCs, he had this, one day he wrote 20 things you can do with a computer when everybody will have one, right? and obviously, one of his was this Lego TC logo that you program, and then you have a little turtle that appear on the screen, right? Forward, and then the turtle moves forward, right? Mm-hmm. Turn left, and the turn. So this constructing of a programming language, which then appear on screen, so you actually can see the result of your construction, is another way of unlocking.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You spoke about this flow concept, the need to balance the importance or the difficulty of a challenge with the level of skill. Too much difficulty in relation to skill generates stress, and the opposite, too much skill with result of the challenge regenerates boredom, is at this core of everyone, including you in Lego Serious Play. How did you get to? I can't pronounce Mr. Mihaly.
Csikszentmihalyi.
Yes, I can't pronounce that name. One day I will. Can you tell us more about this? How you came across this?
No, this was brought to my attention by a Danish professor who I actually hired when he came out of university. I hired him as a teacher.
Yes,
and he went into so he really shared this with me. Mm-hmm. And it resonated, and the reason I got into it was that at that time in the Lego company, I was responsible for teaching designers that education is not the same as learning.
Yes.
And how could products in themselves
Yes.
incite learning for children, right? And this whole idea of how can you inspire them to build something without giving them the solution, which was clearly you can either give models that they can build in a Lego set, or you can just give them bricks. So this idea, how could you find the balance? And we actually developed something for the Mindstorm which is called a Constructopedia.
Yes.
Which we just showed them, how can you build with wheels, how can you build with gears, but we didn't have them build real models. But then you had to, and this is actually what led to the Imaginopedia.
Okay.
Because when trying to somehow get this process off the ground, if you just give adult people bricks and build something, they actually can't really build it. There was a lot of time, just give an executive team 1 million bricks, right, and then build them the company's vision. And that's what didn't work.
Yes.
So there has to be this process into which is why we do the skills building the way we do, right?
Yes.
Because if you just give people bricks,
no.
They don't go there in this case. Yeah.
No, and the skills building is also good so that everyone stays at the same level. Everyone builds confidence or knowledge with the tool or with the bricks at the same rhythm, which I think is particularly interesting.
And the core of flow is this. Yeah, I could do this. Yeah, people have this aha, right? That when you and I think this when you pose a question, it has to throw people a little bit out of flow.
Yes.
They have to have this, God, man, can I really do this here? Can I really answer this? And then you go to the bricks, right? And ultimately, yes, I could answer this question by building something. And then you get into the flow on having somehow learned something more, increased your building skills and stuff like that.
And can we talk about collective flow, getting people together to stay in that quote unquote zone where they keep learning, even for a limited period of time? But is it just individuals, or can this concept be used to look at teams?
I think it also works for the team. But the interesting thing is you can actually have a team in flow. At the same time, you might temporarily have an individual member out of flow. So there is this sense that the team feels a sense of flow. Absolutely.
Okay. Let's come back to this notion of serious play. I've often been scared off by people saying that you don't go to business school or to a meeting or to a workshop to play with Lego. No. It's been a problem with me for the last 15 years. How do you counter this argument that games can't be serious or used in a professional context?
I normally say, well, if you ask me why should you use this here, this Lego serious play thing, to a person, I think, well, if you want to achieve more in shorter time, you should use this Lego serious play. If you have all the time in the world to have, endless meetings, don't use Lego serious play. So I don't talk so much about the benefit of play and risk-free and all of this stuff here. I basically more say, you should do this here if you want to have something that's more efficient than what you normally do.
Yes, so it is a question of efficiency, of speed, really.
Yeah, speed, right? And sort of achieving more learning, achieving better results, and have fun at the same time. So this is kind of really my and how can I promise this? I can promise this because the method in itself maximizes learning.
And in your experience, did you see some companies, groups, or clients to resist more this question of play, of serious play, either in natural cultures, for example, German, French, Chinese, Saudi, or industry-related cultures like air transport, pharmaceuticals, or energy? Is there anything in there that produces more resistances in your experience or not?
Well, unless that certain industries attract certain people with certain values, because I think it ultimately has much more to do with the leadership principles or the leadership style or the leadership beliefs and stuff than it has to do with industry.
Yes,
that's my sort of conclusion, because I'm always surprised. Why does it work so well across cultures? You talked about it already,
Yes.
across, age group, etc. Why is it that there must be something in it that is so generically human, which is why it works right?
Yes.
But obviously, there are people that will not use Lego Serious Play because they believe that the responsibility of the leader is to tell people where to go. So you can argue that in certain cultures, if the leadership mantra is that the leader, being a leader is being the captain, and the captain runs the ship, and the captain tells people where to go. And if you feel as a leader, I want to ask my team what is the best. Should I go A, B, or C? Some leaders will consider this a weakness.
Yes.
So it's much more to do with leadership culture, organizational culture, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Than it has to do with industry.
Yes, and if leaders, as you said, think it's their prerogative to make some of these decisions instead of having the group come together with a decision, or as you say, a better decision or a more efficient decision. If we go back to this, because in our world, we are confronted with acceleration. We are confronted with increased complexity, even though some people want to go back to simple solutions. We are in an increasingly complex world, which have fewer and fewer easy or known solutions. How would you convince, for example, a community to reduce their carbon footprint, and that Lego Serious Play may be a good way to do this? Where do we start? How can we get people to recognize both the complexity and the lack of a easy or evident solution?
That's a big question.
Yes, it is.
But I think my thinking, my approach is that many of these problems that we have in the world, we cannot resolve by sort of just picking in our backpack and based on our experience, right? So to solve these problems, we first of all must use all the collective potential we have in people, right? And the more you can harvest the collective potential of individuals and groups and stuff, the better chance you will have of solving these problems here, because nobody has the solution already and can just tell, well, we should do like this here, right? So how can you maximize the collective intelligence you have, right? And if you can't maximize that, there's no chance that you can actually solve these big problems.
Yes.
Lego Serious Play is about maximizing. So at least we'll have a better chance of doing that. And I think that comes back to that. Whenever we do Lego Serious Play, we want to maximize the insights. We want to maximize people's confidence in the decisions. We want to maximize people's commitment, right?
And in order to do that, we need to get diversity around the table. And how do you get people who are reluctant to come and play?
I think it's well, the beginning of a workshop, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it all begins with this simple tower that everybody must build following a simple rule, right? And then when you see this, right, and see that all towers are different, you say, well, the purpose of Lego Serious Play is the more different towers you can build, the more different answers you can build to the same question, the better it is, right? And that seems to be this release of people. Oh, so it's about me.
Yes.
And once they and this experience they've had, right? Oh God, now I did it right, but my tower looked different than everybody else, and that is okay.
Yes.
And this is the whole purpose. The whole purpose of this is I have my unique tower. This seems to make people relax, and they will then. I just have to build what I think. I don't have to.
So when I try to recruit people who are reluctant to work with others, whatever it is, management, other groups, other divisions, just put the Legos on the table and get them. Their hands will want to go and reach out for them and start.
Yeah, but it also means that it's when people ask me, "Can you tell me what Lego Serious Play is or how it works?" I say, "No, I can't. I can show you.
Yes.
Because I know from experience that if I try to explain the process and the aha moments to people that have not tried it, they don't believe me.
I agree.
They don't believe me. So I will tell why it exists, which is the 2080. It's to break the 2080 because the problem is the 80, right? We do not get enough of other people, right?
Yes.
So that's why we're doing this here.
Yes.
Because I've learned over these years that if I try to explain to people what is Lego Serious Play and how does it work and why is it so powerful, 5% immediately get it.
Yes.
90% sound interesting, but get glazed, right? And 5% I can sort of,
forget it. No.
Will never.
My last question, Mr. Rasmussen, a few words for decision makers in this increasingly volatile and complex and uncertain world, based on your experience and what you've done over the last 20 or 30 years with Lego Serious Play. Either CEOs or program directors or people who are faced, whose job it is to make decisions, whether it's their own choice, whether it's a collective choice, but people who at the end have to sign off, who become accountable for the choices that are made.
How they react to Lego Serious Play, or
if I was to give you 3 minutes with Mr. Macron or Mr. Gutierrez from the United Nations, what would be your 3-minute elevator speech to these guys?
It would still be my 2080 story. It will still be that you need to harvest all the intelligence, right? And the fact that people have to go to work, if you engage people, involve people in their decision making, in the process, people will feel much more enjoyable going to work and they will perform better. So if you really want to maximize both the intelligence and also maximize people's enjoyment going to work, involve people. Because I think that one of the secret sauces of Lego Serious Play is that it always begins with the individual. It always begins with the individual. So the individual always feel that they are part of a bigger thing, right? Yes. And because it begins with honestly listening to the individual, people will be much more committed to the decision. So if you want people to be committed to your decision and be confident on a decision, involve people. That doesn't mean you should let them decide what to do, but ask for their opinion, listen to what they have, right? Find out how they see the complexity and stuff like that. Because if you involve people, honestly, if you literally want to listen to people and how do you see our company's future, what do you think will be the best decision, you will get much more confidence in your decisions and you'll get much more commitment to your decisions. So it's possible to create this win-win situation.
Yes.
That you can actually involve people and at the same time get more out of people. And that means also people will follow your strategy. They are okay with today running this direction and tomorrow running the other direction if they know why.
Yes.
But if you just tell them, yes, we are going this direction, no, you don't need to bother knowing why. But if you really want people to commit to your decisions, to be confident about your decision, involve people on the level it is possible to involve them, because then you will actually be more successful as a leader.
I will leave our audience on these very, very wise words, and I agree with you. Lego Serious Play is some form of experience. Let yourselves be experienced and trust your hands, trust yourselves, and trust the group as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rasmussen, for your work.
My pleasure.
And I will come up with more questions. Maybe we'll see ourselves in the future to dig deeper into some of these questions. Thank you very much.
It's still a mystery for us. What is really the full secret sauce behind the Lego series? Why does it work so well?
Fantastic. I love this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
En conclusion, nous parlons d'objets médiateurs et de jeux sérieux depuis longtemps sur ce podcast, et cette opportunité de discuter avec un des inventeurs de l'approche ou de la méthode Lego Serious Play est trop unique pour la rater, tant pour mieux connaître sa genèse que pour comprendre comment cette méthode fonctionne. Car dans un monde où tout s'accélère, trouver des méthodes pour aller plus vite peut s'avérer précieux. Car si on vous demande d'accélérer, de faire plus vite, ce n'est pas nécessairement en faisant les mêmes opérations en moins de temps que vous allez y arriver. Je vais aussi remarquer ceci, ne pas savoir exactement comment ça fonctionne, mais avoir confiance dans le fait que ça fonctionne. C'est ce que vous faites à chaque fois que vous prenez l'avion. C'est à ma dernière année d'école d'ingénieur que ces choses ont commencé à se multiplier. Par exemple, ma découverte du nombre i, la racine carrée de -1, et des lois diverses et variées en dynamique des fluides. Finalement, à ceux et celles qui sont des fidèles de ce podcast, M. Rasmussen nous parle de Seymour Papert, que je ne connaissais pas, mais qui est à l'origine du constructionnisme. Constructionnisme lui-même basé sur le constructivisme inventé par Jean Piaget. Ce même Jean Piaget que David Otissier nous dit relire à l'épisode 104, le second épisode enregistré avec lui et dont Arnaud Tonelé m'a régulièrement parlé. Piaget, Papert et j'ajouterais Frank Lloyd Wright, dont l'école d'architecture avait pour slogan « Apprendre en faisant, learning by doing ». Ce sont ces coïncidences heureuses qui me font dire que nous sommes sur la bonne piste quand nous travaillons sur ces sujets de cette manière. Merci à Marie et à Valérie qui sauront se reconnaître. Nous espérons que cet épisode vous a plu. Vous pouvez consulter les notes au www.intelliaconsulting.com/épisode 213. D'ici peu, les notes détaillées et des références complémentaires seront offertes sur la communauté Innovation, Agilité et Excellence Pro, un espace unique où se retrouvent experts, praticiens et passionnés des sujets traités sur ce podcast afin d'apprendre, d'échanger et de collaborer pour continuer à développer leur capacité d'action stratégique. D'ici notre prochaine rencontre, nous vous souhaitons une excellente semaine et à très bientôt.